Smells like a can. Hello, humans. How's it going today? All right, today I have a couple things to talk about. First is a quick story about yesterday. So yesterday, my kids were here. Well, I was here too, and we were eating fried rice together. You know, some pork fried rice or something. No, beef fried rice. Anyway, my son had this water bottle, and I don't ever buy these. Don't buy these, because it's like single use. It's so much garbage. I do occasionally buy water bottles, but I'll buy one and then I'll use it for like 4 years. Like I'll just buy them as water bottles. Anyway, doesn't matter how he got this. He had this water bottle, and it was empty, and he was like squeezing it and squashing it, and he's like, it's so easy to squish. And he's like, maybe I can inflate it. So he tries to blow it up like a balloon, but it's hard because the lid, trying to get the lid on and everything. So I see him doing this, and I'm like, ooh, hold on, give me that for a second. So I take it and I pour a little bit of vinegar in the bottom, and then I go grab a piece of baking soda, and he's like yelling over the counter, "You're getting baking soda! You're getting baking soda!" So I drop the baking soda and I put the lid on real quick, and he's like, "Oh man, it's just like the volcano!" And I'm like, I mean, he was not surprised at all about what was going to happen. He'd already figured out what was going on. So anyway, I give it back to him, and he's like, "Oh, it's so inflated now!" And he's all excited and laughing, and he's like, "Hey, check it out! You guys know what happened?" Like telling his sisters about how I made a volcano in here, and it blew it up and inflated the bottle, and now it's harder, and it's like, whoa! Anyway, there was a whole thing, and then he was like, "What would we have to do to blow the lid right off?" Anyway, it was just really cool to see a 6-year-old and the rest of them too, just like all excited about science and just chemical reactions and stuff. And I was thinking about it while this was happening, and I was like, so many kids are missing that experience. And this is the kind of thing my kids experience all the time, but so many kids miss that experience, that kind of experience, that type of experience, not that exact experience, but just that type of experience of like real life, exciting stuff happening with magic and blah, 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 because they're stuck on the internet all the time. So many kids grow up with the phone and the tablet, and it's not good, man. Like if you have kids, don't let them go on the internet, because they end up getting sucked into these streamers shows. The streamers who are like 25-year-old multi-millionaire because they make TikTok videos about it's just dumb stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I bought a new car with my TikTok, my YouTube money, whatever. Yeah, I'm balling." And that's like, they don't care about any kind of like giving any value to the viewer. It's just to try to get as many viewers as possible. You got to keep them out of that stuff, man. Interact with your kids a lot, and keep the phones out of their hands. Anyway, okay. Also, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday I went to town with all my kids. There's a bunch of stuff I've been meaning to get, like 10 bags of cement, a bunch of like paint and stuff for the second floor. Ooh, let me show you what I got actually. So I think I was saying last week that I'm kind of like going full blast to finish the second floor, the running track and all that. So that's what I've been doing. That's one of the reasons we went to town yesterday, and I got this 1 part epoxy stuff. This one is lime green. I don't know if anyone knows this brand or anything, but hopefully it's good. It was like $50 a can. I don't know if it's any good. I don't know how 1 part epoxy works either, but I don't know. I'm hoping it's going to be good and will make a nice durable surface that kids can like roller skate on and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I got 3 cans of that, and it was more expensive than other paint options. But I was like, with the amount of money I've actually spent on this floor, which is, I mean, almost nothing, because I cut all the wood myself with a chainsaw and the lumber mill, and I figured I could split a little for the final surface and try to get something durable. Anyway, I picked up a few other things here and there and some food and whatever as usual. But we got up Well, I got up at like 4 in the morning because I always wake up early. Um, I did some stretching, and then at like 7 o'clock, I'm checking the weather, and I'm like, man, it says it's a nice sunny day. And all day yesterday, it said it was going to be a sunny day, and the day after is supposed to be a sunny day. So I think this is a pretty reliable sunny day weather forecast. Like we should get a sunny day today. So two of my kids were up at this point. It was 7 a.m. Two of them, the two little ones always get up early. That's part of the reason I get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning a lot of times. Anyway, so I asked them, "You guys want to go to town today?" They're like, "Yeah." And then I go whisper in my older kids' ears, "Do you want to go to town today?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Then get up." And they're like, "Oh, oh, oh." So anyway, we all got in the boat, and by about 7:30, we took off. And we got to town. Now it used to take, I don't know if anyone here remembers these videos I did a little while ago. My old boat used to take, what was it, like 3 hours. If I had optimal weather conditions, I could get to town in 3 hours. Like not the place where I pick up packages and there's this big floating dock. This is just like the place I park when I'm going to town to get supplies in town, whatever. It would take 3 hours minimum in my old boat. And then when I switched to start using the big cargo boat again, changed the roof, put some batteries in it, did some modifications. I was like, it would be awesome if I could match the time it takes in my smaller boat with the bigger boat, right? That would be amazing if I could, get places in the same amount of time, but take like, I don't know, 10 times as much cargo and weight and whatever. So it used to take 3 hours. We got there in about 2.5, which was amazing. And then, did some stuff, picked up the cement and the paint and, got some food and whatever. And then put everything on the boat, and it was maybe like 12 to 1,500 pounds of cargo on the boat, plus me and 4 kids. And we drove back. Still 2.5 hours. It might have even been less. I didn't get the exact time on it, but it was no more than 2.5 hours. And you might be wondering, why would you get the same speed with all this extra cargo in the boat? Well, it's because normally the boat, if this is the front of the boat and this is the back of the boat, all the weight's in the back of the boat. So the motor's back there, and the batteries aren't that heavy now because they're lithiums, but all the weight is in the back of the boat. So the boat's kind of like this, like all the solar panels and the roof are on the back. So I'm driving like this on the way there. But then when I get half a ton of weight in the front of the boat, it starts leveling out, and I put some of the weight like right up in the front to get it to level out. So then it's just more, it's going through the water straighter, not like plowing through like that. I mean, that's exaggeration, obviously. But anyway, yeah, even with a whole bunch of weight, still totally blew away my old smaller boat, which was awesome. So I was super excited about that, especially after I got home and confirmed that it wasn't just a fluke on the way there. Because we got there and what was it? I asked someone what time it was, and they're like, "Oh, it's like 10 o'clock." And I was like, that means it only took like 2.5 hours to get here. Is that right? Maybe I got the time wrong or something. That can't be right. But then on the way back, I totally paid attention. Yeah, 2.5 hours. Anyway, I'm very excited about that. So the boat is doing spectacularly amazing. Another thing that happened in town was 2 times, like women, what's the word? 2 times I talked to women in town who were very, very responsive and like, "Boy, I want to talk to you, sir." And both times I was just like, I wasn't thinking about picking up girls or anything, so I wasn't really in that mindset. And I was just like, I didn't try to get any numbers or anything. But then after that, I was thinking about, on this long trip home, like my kids all fell asleep and I'm driving with no kids awake for an hour. And I'm just thinking, and I was thinking about a lot of the people I've had in my life and how negative they've been, which is why I'm hesitant to meet new people, And I was just thinking, there's got to be some way of filtering out, or at least figuring out what is this characteristic of people who have been in my life a lot, who've been very negative, versus the people who've been very positive. Because if I can figure that out, maybe I can filter through them and figure out questions to ask and stuff like that. You know, you look like a skinny version of Richard Simmons. Okay, anyway, I'm not really reading these messages yet, but I know there's a bunch of comments. I'll get to them. Anyway, so I was thinking, I mean, next time I go to town, or at some point in the future, I'm talking to some girl, I may want to get her number or whatever. And in all honesty, in both these cases, I was rejecting based on physical parameters already, because like I can't be with someone who's not in good shape. I've done that. I've had a girlfriend who wasn't in great shape, and it's just, I don't know, it wasn't great. Anyway, so I was thinking about this, like what are the differences? Is there some kind of difference I can like quantify between people who've been a very positive experience in my life versus people who've been a very negative experience in my life? And I kind of whittled it down to certain people. Like you can always divide people into different categories, right? So some people compare themselves to the best or something better than themselves. And some people compare themselves to something worse than themselves. And it ends up putting people into different kind of categories. So let's say, okay, let's just use a very simple example, which is where I first kind of came across this concept, and I didn't really apply it to like personal relationships or anything. But this is another. All right, don't keep disconnecting, mister. Anyway, so one thing when I was running track and field, coaches would always say, never look at the people behind you. Like when you're running a race, always look ahead. Don't look at the people behind you, because it'll make you slow down. Like you'll psychologically just be thinking about behind you, and it'll drag you back and slow you down. No, focus on the people ahead of you. If there's no one ahead of you, you figure out how to just go. So what I would do is I would imagine a me that's better than me, who's beating me, and I try to catch that guy. So I learned to always compare myself to the best. And if there was no one around who was better than me at something, I would just compare myself to what I could be, like some better version of myself. And that's what I ended up defaulting to pretty much all the time, is just compare myself to the best version I could be. And that was very effective in getting me to win lots of races and blah, 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 blah. So this concept also relates to personal relationships and a person's attitude and their personality and how you deal with people. So let's look at how people deal with other people. So say right here, right in the middle of the screen, this is neutral. So if you hang out with this kind of person, you're just kind of like, could take them or leave them. But then above neutral, there's a person who you're like, I kind of like being around that person. And then maybe a little above that, you're like, hey, that person's fun. And maybe a little above that, it's like, hey, I get inspired by that person. And, it just goes up in more positive levels to where you just have like a better and better experience with being around that person. And, below the neutral is like, down here is like, that person's a little annoying, but it's no big deal. But then you go a little further and it's like, that person is just, and then you get a little further and it's like, I just want to avoid that person if possible. Can we just avoid that person? All the way down to, I would rather die than spend a minute with that person, right? So you've got like neutral, and then you've got like positive experiences up here, and then negative experiences down here. And I've noticed that people, generally speaking, are either in the positive zone or in the negative zone, and very rarely do they actually cross for any significant period of time. So maybe a very positive person might have a bad day, and they'll have like one bad day, but then they'll go back to where they were. Or a very negative person will be like, I'm going to do something nice, and they'll do something nice, but then they'll fall right back to where they were. And it's largely because the people in the positive area, they are comparing themselves to something better than themselves. So they're always trying to add to themselves to become better, right? But then the people who are comparing themselves to something worse than themselves, and this is the person who says, well, I'm not as bad as that person. Fine, I told a lie, but I'm not as this person over here lies all the time, so I'm better than them. So they're always comparing themselves to like the worst. So the person who's comparing themselves to the best, neutral is like their starting position, and then they can make improvements based on, oh, I'm doing better because I'm comparing myself to someone better than me, and I'm trying to strive toward that. But then the person in the negative zone, they generally don't start even at neutral. They start like down here somewhere because they're saying, I'm not as bad as this person. So I'm better than that person. So they're one step above that. So what ends up happening is that they always focus on negative. They always focus on what they're doing wrong as opposed to what they could be doing right. So their only way of approaching even neutral is to reduce how bad they are. And since no one's perfect, they can never get up to neutral, right? So they can be less bitchy and less nagging and lie less and do all this stuff, horrible stuff less, but they're never going to be perfect. And and that makes it so the ultimate goal, the best they could ever possibly do, is neutral. And I've had many girlfriends like this, and don't even ask like why I got together with them. I didn't understand how this worked before. I'd just be like, wow, she's pretty, she would look great wrapped around me, yeah. And I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't have a father to tell me this stuff when I was a kid. But anyway, people who are always thinking about what they could do better, they start at neutral. So they're always going to be in the positive, and the people always thinking about the negative will always be in the negative. And it's not that hard to distinguish who's doing which. Like you just have to kind of like have some conversation. I probably should have thought of an example of this before I started doing this, but whatever. Like you have to have some kind of conversation where the person has some kind of judgment of themselves and see if they talk about they could be better or they could be less bad. Like, I'm not as bad as that. I could do this bad thing less. That's in the negative. Or if they're in the positive, they're like, I could do more of this positive thing. And that's the positive thinking. So I think, presuming I can remember to do this, I'm going to try to run this filter through people I bring into my life, and really try to focus on bringing the people who have the positive, the positive mindset. Because I've had, and like I said, most of the girlfriends I've had have had the negative mindset. And when I didn't really understand how it worked at the time, but many times I've had the conversation of, you're kind of not a very nice person. You've got these flaws, and then they'll say, "Oh, I'm gonna improve. I'm gonna do better. You can help me do better." And then there would be noticeable improvement. However, I would always be frustrated because they would never even get up to the neutral point. They'd always be in negative territory, just like being less bitchy, less argumentative. And I would always, when I was younger, I would think, oh, they're making improvement. That's a good thing. That means if they keep making improvement, they can get into positive territory. But no, there's a barrier there. Like you have to completely flip the way you think You have to stop comparing yourself to the worst, to the negative, and start comparing yourself to the positive to even get into the positive zone. Anyway, let's see what you guys are talking about. I've been yammering on for 20 minutes. I didn't really think about how I was going to explain that very well. I just started the thing, so that was probably very long-winded. Mr. Landfill, how you doing, man? Let me turn my brightness up so I can see you guys better. Wait, Isaias Garnica, I don't know, says saludos. And buenos tardes. Sí, buenos tardes. That means good afternoon. Evan Knight says Canes or McDonald's. Canes or McDonald's. I don't know what that means. I have not been in a McDonald's in over a decade. I don't know when the last time I was in a McDonald's, and I don't know what Canes is. Not Skibbity says Mr. Beast. I think he's talking about when I was talking about the what was it? The streamers who don't care about being a positive influence at all and just try to get as many views as possible. Yeah, Mr. Beast is probably a good example of that. But yeah, I don't know that much about Mr. Beast, so I would not want to say a lot about that. Mr. Landfill is doing a good job here, I see. Wendy, how you doing? I hope you're having an excellent, I think you're in the United States, an excellent evening. Thank you, Mr. Landfill, for taking care of business here. You're awesome, man. Hello from prairies in Canada. From the prairies in Canada. Saskatchewan, Alberta? I don't know. Depends which one. Something great you have done there for you and your family. You're right. The internet isn't good. Is rotting the youth's brains and bodies. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, man. It's funny because, like, the internet is one of those things. I mean, this happens all the time with technology. Like, we get some new technology and it just opens tons of doors. And we as a society decide which doors we go through. And with the internet, man, we are going through a lot of the wrong doors and not fully utilizing a lot of the really good doors. Like, there's so many good things that could be done with the internet, but so much of it just comes down to trying to get likes and shares and, get me some more subs. Everyone sub and like and click on my thing and comment. It's there's so much potential there. And the way I always think about this is with a lot of technologies, like they can be used to make people's lives better or make people's lives worse. And I think that our society today is getting technology faster than we can figure out what we should be doing with it. And I think that's a problem. And I love technology. I love, like, the advancement of technology, but I also see that, yeah, things are advancing way faster than we're able to adapt to which we are able to adapt. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, it's a tricky thing. I guess the way I get around it is any new technology, I look at it and I try to decide how it can benefit my life and prevent it from interrupting my life. For example, my kids don't have phones and tablets and all that stuff. I don't even have a phone, actually. And that's a conscious decision. I have enough connection at home with the internet here. I don't need to like constantly, anywhere I go, have this bleeping thing constantly trying to suck my attention away from the real world. But yeah, there's so many things, so many technological things that could be beneficial or detrimental to our lives. And I think it would be really valuable for more people to spend more time deciding what technology to use, rather than just presuming, well, everyone's using it, or it's the newest best thing, or all that kind of stuff. Speaking of technology, so video games are an example of this, and I've been getting my three younger kids into video games. My older daughter's like, I don't care about that. I'm reading books and stuff. She also like just started reading on her own when she was like 4 years old, like novels and stuff or whatever. But my other three kids are not as into reading. I mean, it's hard to tell with the 4-year-olds because she's still little. But my middle kids are not super into reading, so I'm getting them into like RPG video games. Where there isn't a ton of reading, and there's a lot of fun stuff, but then there's little bits of stuff here and there you have to read. So it just kind of, I'm hoping just kind of get them into the habit of reading, because they can, my 6-year-old, my 12-year-old can both read. They're just not that interested in it. So I'm just trying to get them more interested in it. And the game they're playing right now is the original Dragon Warrior, which I played when I was a little kid. And I finished it on the old Nintendo, with the cartridge and everything. And now I don't remember. You must have been able to save that game, because it took a long time to finish that. There must have been a save point. But anyway, there's also some weird stuff going on with the Dragon Warrior video games. Apparently, there's a remake of Dragon Warrior 3, also known as Dragon Quest 3. Sorry, I'm gonna be a nerd about RPGs for a minute here. Anyway, so Akira Toriyama, the guy who did Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and not GT, but Dragon Ball Super, he designed all the characters and did, I don't know if he did all of the artwork, but he did a lot of the artwork anyway for the Dragon Ball, or the Dragon Quest and the Dragon Warrior video games. And he is like, he also died a few years ago, which is very sad. But he's like the Van Gogh of anime, kind of, like he's really good and very well respected and blah blah blah. But in this Dragon Quest 3 remake they're editing his images, they're censoring them, which is so insane. It's like going up to Roman statues and covering the penises, and not that there are any penises even showing, but there are some characters who have not a lot of clothing on, but like nothing's showing. But it's all like it's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, and then there's a lot of like inside jokes that they're just editing out. They're just sucking so much of the fun out of the game. Censorship has gone too far. Censorship's getting ridiculous. Anyway, Randy says hello. What's going on, Randy? I don't know what. I look like the skinny version of Richard Simmons. I don't know who Richard Simmons is. I'm sure it's someone I'm supposed to know, but I don't know. Mr. Landfill, yes. Mr. B Impossible. What doesn't bring you up brings you down? People, places, things. Not necessarily. Some things are just nothing. Like if I see a rock and I'm walking past it, it'll only bring me up or down, I think. But yeah, I know what you mean. Particularly with people. Like there aren't a lot of people who have just a neutral thing. A lot of them either bring you up or bring you down. I got to figure out how to get more of those bringing me up people into my life, because I've had a lot of bringing down people in the last, I don't know, a while. And if I think back, I can definitely remember having some very positive human experiences in the past. So yeah, I gotta figure out how to get some more of those going. Quadrant, what's going on, man? Yo, good evening from Richard, UK. Hope your toe is doing better. It is actually doing better. So yeah, in case anyone missed it, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago or something, I smashed my left pinky toe really hard, and it was like bent out, and I'm pretty sure I cracked it and turned purple. It seems to be healing pretty well. I did today stub it just on a little piece of wood. And it hurt way more than it would if I hadn't smashed it earlier, but it was fine. Wendy says, so much of tech today is tech to make money, not tech to be used. Yeah, so many things. There's just too much focus on money. Like, I guess this is one of these things where capitalism becomes a problem, when the capital becomes the focus of everything. You know, like money is a great tool. It's very useful for exchanging things and holding. It's a great placeholder for value, but it's not valuable itself, you know. But when people start obsessing over money like it's the valuable thing and losing track of the real value, hey, you just end up with some really weird things happening. Like people doing crazy things because, okay, like there was this video, I'm sure you guys have seen this and it's stupid that I even clicked on this dumb thing. But there's some idiot who's, you know, one of these streamer guys who's driving an expensive car, texting, and then he crashes. And after he's out of the car and, you know, the fire people there and everything, he's just yelling, "Oh my God, I lost all my money. I lost all my money. I lost all my money." And I'm just thinking like, dude, that's what you're worried about? You just crashed a car and you're worried that you lost all your money. How about, oh my God, I'm such an idiot that I was not paying attention while driving in a steel box, which is a very dangerous thing to do. Yeah, people do it every day, but it's a very dangerous thing to do, and I'm not even paying attention, and I crashed. I'm an idiot. I need to improve. Like, that's what he should be thinking. Not, ooh, money, money, money. Like, the thinking about money has replaced all kinds of valuable thinking for so many people. It's just replaced any kind of morality and just any kind of rational thought. It's just like, oh, let's not think about anything. It's just the money. How's the money doing? Is the money good or is the money bad? That's the only way I judge anything. And it's just all screwed up. This is why we have such bad parents too, because it's like people aren't valuing those experiences, like the one I was talking about earlier with my kid and the bottle with the vinegar and the baking soda blowing up. Yeah, people aren't valuing those experiences with their kids like they should be, because, you know, I didn't make any money doing that. In fact, I probably spent like 4 cents of materials to do that, you know. Right in front of us. I don't know what's right in front of us, but I missed some kind of context there. Mako24XO says, I think we tend to overcomplicate many things. That's totally true. But of course, living in this society does not help with that. Full of waste, consumerism, and meanness. Yeah. I was talking about this last week, how, you know, in the 1950s, people generally had a much higher standard of living than they do today, even though we have all these more capabilities. This is not the right word. We're much more capable technologically now than we were 70 years ago. But just our society is mired in rules and regulations and just dumb ways of thinking, just all this backward stuff that ends up putting hurdles in our own way, where we're putting obstacles in our own way. And I've heard many people talk about, you know, living off grid and how it would be so hard. Oh my God, living off grid must be so hard. But if you live off grid, like I live off grid here, there's no utilities, there's no, like I'm responsible for my water and my power, and, you know, I have to take care of everything here. But I don't have to deal with like the regulations you have to deal with in a city, for example, or any kind of like really built up area where you have to spend just insane amounts of your time just dealing with regulations, complying. It's insane. Once you actually get free of that, you can do so much. Quadrant says, glad to hear it's starting to heal, Jaimie. A lot of technology is starting to be used for control of society, yeah, and for feed adverts and brands or a particular political agenda. Oh, totally, yeah. It's crazy how. Okay, here's another video I clicked on today. I didn't watch the whole thing, but John Kerry, who was trying to be the president of the United States a while ago, he was talking about how much harder it is to gain consensus today than it was like 40 years ago. Because 40 years ago, everyone got the news from the same place. So you could just have someone decide what everyone needs to think, and you just tell them all, this is what you think. But today, people are getting their news from all kinds of different sources, so they're thinking all kinds of different things. And he's talking about how much harder it is to govern because you can't make everyone think the same thing. And I'm just thinking, like, what the? Like, how do you not understand how screwed up everything you're saying is? First of all, this is a career politician. There should be no career politicians. Like, one of the points of having politicians and elections is that you avoid the problem a monarchy has. And the major problem a monarchy has is that you get a ruler and they are the ruler for life. The point of having a political system is to have people come into political office, do their term of service, and then they go back to the regular world and deal with the consequences of whatever they did. So then people are very, very motivated to do good things and implement good policies for the people because they are the people. But now we've got this whole class of people. All right, let me turn my light on here a little. Now we've got this whole class of people who are just career politicians. Like they just think they are governors. They just govern everyone and they just have to decide. And this is what this John Kerry idiot's talking about. Like, he's just a career politician and he's just saying it's really hard to just control people. It's so much harder to control everyone now than it used to be. And like, you shouldn't even be thinking that. That should not be what you're, oh God. Like, no one should have, there should be no career politician. That's the entire point of getting away from the monarchy, is to avoid career politicians and to avoid, one family just taking over everything. But, that's what we have in a lot of these countries. All right, where are we going to here? Yeah. Hit like, Gypsy Tinker says. Gypsy Tinker, great name, man. Dave Hand says, hola, Jaimie, hola. I was telling you about Robert Murray Smith last week and his printable energy generator. He made a rubber band motor to light a lamp. Your fan spring motor would probably do a good job. I was actually thinking about doing a wind-up flashlight. I think that'd be super useful, around here. Because, often in the middle of the night, I just need a light for a couple minutes just to, I don't know, take care of a kid or go pee or whatever. Yeah, it'd be cool to just have like a little wind-up thing and like there's the light. You don't have to worry about a battery eventually failing or whatever. Wendy, you've retracted your message? I love your messages. Water Faucet says a lecture on magnets. I do not have a lecture. Should I do a lecture on magnets? I did do a lesson on power transformers once. That had some magnetism in it. Anyway, Quadrant says wind-up radios and wind-up lights are great. Yeah, totally. But it's hard to find ones that are wind up and store the energy in a spring. Usually they're wind up and it stores the energy in a battery. And the problem with those is, eventually the battery dies or the electronics, die, and you can't just replace some semiconductor integrated circuit by, you can't fix it. You have to get a replacement. But one of the cool things with mechanical stuff is that you can see what the problem is. If this is a cracked gear tooth, it's like, okay, I can fix that gear tooth or print a new gear, or if the spring is broken, it's like, okay, I can just make the spring shorter and bend it here or get a new one, or mechanical things are easier to replace without having to have tons of like parts on hand, It'll be really cool when someone figures out batteries that just last forever and are easy to charge without all kinds of electronics and stuff like that. But someone's going to mention capacitors. But anyway, let's move on. Your fan is probably half the way there. Yeah, the fan is pretty good. I should put my fan on right here. It's getting kind of hot. Water Faucet says, I was joking about the title of the stream, positive and negative. Oh, wait, what were you saying? Water Faucet, electron magnets. Oh, positive and negative, right. Electron magnets, right. Quadrant says, do you use walkie-talkies at all to talk to your friend over on his island? I don't really have a friend over on his island anymore. He's just stopped being friends with me. He told me I was too negative. And I was like, but dude, you come over here and like go on a like an hour-long monologue about how everything sucks. What do you mean I'm negative? And he's like, yeah, well, I do that, but I apologize for that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I was saying, never mind. I mean, we're not enemies or anything, but we don't like hang out anymore, I do have walkie-talkies though. I don't know, maybe we'll start hanging out at some point in the future. But I have this weird situation where, and this has happened many times over and over, when I meet people who have been fans, they get really weird with me. Which, I mean, kind of makes sense. But it's also just really frustrating because I want to be like, just treat me like a normal person. But when someone is a fan of yours and they've been watching you for years and they pay attention to you and like have had all these conversations with you in their own head that you've not been part of, it makes it hard to just have a normal conversation that doesn't have a lot of presumptions built into it and all this stuff. So yeah, I found it really difficult to stay friends with people who were fans of mine that I end up meeting in real life. I think it'll be okay for a while, but then it starts getting really weird. I mean, not always, but often. Wendy says, I was more interested in the talk about motors than the comment about money I made. The talk about motors. Yeah, motors. You should get a beehive. Oh, you're right. I should totally get a beehive and put it on your island. Honey and beeswax, lots of bees. You're 100% right. I do plan to get bees. Maybe I should make that my first animal. I've always kind of thought I'll get chickens first, but maybe I should just get bees first. I have plenty of space. There's some flowering plants around. I could get bees here. And I've made beehives for other people before. I don't remember how I made them. Besides, I'd want to figure out, okay, the kind of beehive I would want to make? I mean, I'd have to look into this and make sure it's good and everything. But there's a type of beehive where you can get the honey out without like disturbing the whole thing, like without having to pull out the trays. I gotta look into that again. Oh yeah, beeswax, totally useful too. Quadrant says, that's a shame. I think you're a pretty positive person and motivational for others. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's weird when I meet people who've been fans. Like they after a while, they start saying things that don't really make sense. Like he was definitely the one who was more negative than me by a lot. And maybe it was that I was like kind of commiserating with them. He'd say, oh, this sucks. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that does suck. Maybe that's how I was being negative. I don't know. But like, yeah, I generally try to be a pretty positive person. But I don't know. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm just, I don't know. Vegan Surf says, my wife and I took a little inflatable boat 5 miles across an ocean channel to an island near our house today. Dude, that sounds awesomely fun. Your wife and you, did she complain or did she have fun? Oh man, that sounds awesome. If you went and you had fun. One time I was with a girlfriend and we were in Cape Cod. And I was like, I want to go to the hardware store, but I don't want to drive there. I'm going to walk. And it was 9 miles along the beach. And I was thinking, this is great. I'm gonna walk 9 miles along the beach, go to the hardware store, pick up a couple little whatever I need, and walk back. It's gonna take a few hours. But I had the time. I wasn't busy or anything that day, and I was like, hey, it'll be a nice walk on the beach. And she's like, I want to go with you. And I knew this girl was not really that into those types of adventures. So I was like, I think you should just stay here. Do you know how far 9 miles is? She's like, well, you're going to do it. I'm like, yeah, but I do that kind of stuff. 9 miles is nothing to me. But you don't really, you're kind of more of a driving kind of person. She's like, no, I want to go. I was like, okay. You want to go? Let's go. Let's have fun. Let's do it. So we start walking. It was maybe like I don't even think she made it to 2 miles before she started kind of like lightly griping. And I'm like, come on, hop on my back. I'll piggyback you for a while, for like a mile or so, and then you can walk again. So I ended up piggybacking her most of the way there, and just being like, man, she should have not come. But anyway, I pick up my stuff and I start walking back. And while we were at the store, she just like relaxed, and I was like, okay, now she's got a little bit of energy back. But yeah, she did not get any energy back. She needed to piggyback right away. But if you're piggybacking someone for like an hour, even if you're fine doing it, they start getting like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. And I'd be like, okay, then walk. But that's so hard. I don't know. Can you just make it more comfortable? And I'm just like, oh God. So I piggybacked this girl for miles back to the house, and she just complained about it the whole time. So, yeah. I mean, it was. I can only laugh at it now. It was pretty funny. But yeah, if you had a different experience and you went with your wife to an island and she paddled and enjoyed it and had fun, oh, so jelly, so jealous. That sounds amazing. Vegan Surf says 48-volt fancy electric outboard. Oh, you took a little inflatable boat with a fancy electric outboard. Oh, dude, I totally, yeah. Never mind. You were not paddling. You just roamed over there. So my whole story did not make sense at all. So never mind. And back. First battery just made it across. Battery brought 2 batteries, so you got back. Very good, very good. Yeah, so my story about going on an adventure with a girl was completely irrelevant. Hicham Radi has lots of kissy faces, I guess. Quadrant says, I wish I got to meet you guys when you lived over here in the UK, as you were living approximately 35 miles from me. I would have just treated you down to earth. I think you're very creative. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, some of the people I've met, I think there's a distinction between fans and just like fellow, I don't know, adventure builders or something, like people who are also just interested in being creative and adventure or whatever. I think it's a problem specific to fans, and by fans I mean people who kind of like idolize the person for whom they're a fan. And I think that, I mean, I'm sure there are some other problems here, but when someone looks up to you like that, like they're a fan and you're up on a pedestal, you cannot live up to their expectations. It's impossible. There's no way you can do it, because you don't even know what all their expectations are. So even if you had a handbook that had all the list of everything they needed you to be and do, it would still be super hard to do. But you don't even get that handbook. It's just like they're there and they've decided who you are, and you need to be that person or you're being inauthentic. When you're just like, I'm just going to be me, man. I can't figure out who you want me to be. All right, let's see. Vegan Surf says, my wife had tons of fun on the ocean trip. She is very hardy and good in a tough spot. Oh, that is the best. Very hardy and good in a tough spot. That's like high praise right there. Yeah, if I had a wife and I was bragging to people that she's very hardy and she's good in a tough spot, I would feel like I was saying some amazing stuff about her. That would be, yeah. Quadrant says, have you ever had any interest in amateur radio to be able to speak to people around the world? I know the internet has replaced radio now, but it can be pretty cool. I do have some interest in that. Of course, I have all these other things going on, so I have a lot of interests that I just have not gotten into because I'm just busy doing all kinds of other stuff. But I could very easily get into, ham radios and all that stuff. That stuff's pretty cool. Vasco Zuzus, what's going on, man? It would be neat to incorporate something glow in the dark into a wind-up flashlight so you can find it if it runs out. That's totally true. And I have a bag of glow-in-the-dark powder over there, which I haven't really used for much. I put some in this little decorative vial thing. I just filled it with glow-in-the-dark powder and tied a string around it. So it ends up it looks almost exactly like, Frodo. It was Frodo, right? Yeah, Frodo's, the thing he got from the elves, the star, the little light up thing that he used to fend off the spider. Sorry if anyone hasn't seen this and I'm ruining it for them, but come on. But yeah, that thing he got from the elves that lights up, it very much resembles that. So the kids love that. You can put it on as a necklace and it's a glowing thing. You gotta charge it up with a light, but it's pretty cool. Wendy says, is the beehive you're talking about the flow hive? Sounds like it. Probably. Looking for it, I found the bee ecosystem hive, which hangs inside on your wall with a tube outside for the bees to come in. That is cool. Although I don't think I would need the bees to be inside here because this is tropical. I mean, I even go outside to get water. Inside and outside is not that much different, other than there are fewer bugs inside than outside. Yeah, that's pretty much the point of my walls, is to keep bugs out, because the temperature is pretty much always great outside. Quadrant says, I've just noticed, Jaimie, you have a decent pair of guns on you. You have, man. Well, thank you, man. Shall we go to the gun show? I need to sort out my health and get back in shape. Dude, that should be like a top priority. If you make that always a top priority, quality of life goes way up. Yeah, always make your health a top priority. Super important thing. 666 Jet says Sting. I don't know. Sting what? I don't know what the question is. Sting? That's not a full sentence. Quadrant says, if you ever want any help with the technical side of a communication infrastructure, let me know. Yeah, I know you're into all that radio stuff, which is super awesome. I don't know. Right now I just use kind of plain old walkie-talkies just to communicate with just local neighbors. But yeah, maybe at some point I'll want to get into some longer range stuff. Mr. Landfill says, I saw a flashlight glow in the dark set. The flashlight charges the glow and makes you use less batteries. Well, that's pretty cool. Quadrant says, I've just thought about something. Maybe check out an old film with the kids sometimes called Blackbeard's Ghost. It's from 1968, but a great film. Blackbeard's Ghost. Let me see. Yeah, we do have movie night every now and then. And I have a projector and a screen. Okay, Blackbeard's Ghost. Thank you for the movie recommendation. I will see if I can find it. Arundel Star, that's it. Vasco Zuzus knows exactly what I'm talking about. You know what? I'm gonna go get it. Hold on. Let me see if I can grab it real quick. Star goes over here. Oh, there's something hanging on it. Hold on. What did you do, Jaimie? Oh, okay. Here, check out how cool that is, right? Okay, let's charge it up a minute. Oh, I can even shake up the powder and have it charge like right through the powder. Ooh. Yeah. So for a while, my son was being Frodo, and he had a ring on a necklace, and he would he would go upstairs and try to get rid of the ring by shoving it down through the boards on the second floor to throw it down to the first floor. Isn't that cool? That's great. Yeah. Arendelle Star, yes. Frodo's sword is Sting. Thanks. Oh, Sting, right. The question Sting. Yeah, the sword is Sting, which also glowed. But yes, I was talking about Arendelle Star. Wow, that's cool, Vasco says. That is cool, isn't it? Yeah, when I went over to get it, it was actually glowing over there. Just, from the ambient light. Super easy to find. And I don't know what this thing is, but I don't know, it's like in... Anyway. Let's see what else is going on here. Am I at the end of comments? It looks like I'm at the end of comments. That's cool. I am at the end of comments. Does that mean I get to go eat dinner now and everyone can go on with their lives and stop being bored by my yammering on? It is quite enjoyable family film. You're welcome, Jaimie. Yes, thank you. All right. I think we're all done here. So if anyone has any last minute comments or questions, throw them in here, and I'm going to get out of here in a minute. Mr. Landfill says, be safe, everyone. Mr. Yanarobi says, hi from Maine. A fun hour. Thank you all. You're very welcome, Wendy, and thank you to everyone else for being here. Thanks for hanging out, Jaimie. No problem, Vasco. You too. Enjoy your dinner, and good night. Yeah, I'm going to go enjoy my weird dinner. All right. Catch you guys later, man. Where's the button? There's a button. Come on.